We're going to take a look at just modeling the head. All right, I'm going to put this up in front of you guys. You can just kind of participate in discussion as we go through this really quick. I know some people have already started it, but I want to go back through just one more time in case there's any misconceptions or confusion or potential to maybe improve kind of what you're working on as you're going through a modeling ahead. So let's take a look at this here just a little bit together. All right, I have like a good starting place already kind of up on the screen just so you can kind of see like the direction that we're going. There's some stuff that can certainly be improved, but for the most part, like we're just getting the general form of the head, where you can always go back and you can continue to add detail to it. So like this character has like a little swirl kind of thing coming off the top. We're going to add that. We're going to try to kind of factor that in. It's got like one eyeball, big eyeball, Cyclops style up front. So we're going to put that in. And then he's also got some teeth, so we'll add that. And if you want to do any other kind of detail later on, you can work on that on your own. Okay? But I want to get you just started, just kind of getting like the head in position where it's going to go. And one thing, like I do keep the head totally separate from the body for this particular character. I think it ends up working out pretty well. So when we put it all back together, the head's going to be in position and it's going to be able to be animated and move around and stuff like that. Okay? So just to get you going, everything that I have up here was modeled with just a sphere. So we started off with a sphere, all right, and just kind of like putting it in position here over top of where the sphere is going to end up in the virtual studio is a good place to begin. And if you look at kind of the end solution as far as what's up on the screen right now, you can kind of tell like that the North Pole, South Pole ends up being kind of like on the side of the character's face, and I think that ends up working out really well for what we have to build. So I'm going to go through and show you how to kind of put this in position here. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start out with like just a sphere. I went full screen, so I did notice a lot of you guys are still trying to just model in one of the little quad viewports down here in the bottom, bottom right or on the side or something like that. If you go full screen, that helps out really well, just so you can actually see what you're doing. All right, make sure you're in orthographic, and then we're trying to stay modeling in like either the side view or the front view, and I think that really helps you. Okay, some other stuff. What I was kind of talking about as far as like the head goes, I do want to put the sphere over top of like the position where it's going to end up here. All right, if I rotate that, I want to rotate my sphere using that angle snap toggle so that we can get it exactly to 90 degrees and make sure like North Pole is over on one side of the head and South Pole is on the other side of the head. All right, once that's there, we can start to just kind of scale the entire thing uniformly and put it in position. All right, so from the side, that's roughly where it's going to go. From the front, that's roughly where it's going to go. If I want to get the center axis lined up a little bit better, that works pretty well there. Okay. One other thing, just before we convert it to an editable poly and start kind of moving points around, you notice like when you first make a sphere, you tend to have a lot of segments that are built into the sphere, so it's 32 just to start. All right, you can drop that number down, so you have like a rougher geometric form just to start with. So as I get down in like this 15 segment range, 16 segment range, I think that's pretty close to where I want to be. I don't have to have a ton of segments in this. Like we're going to come back and we're going to turbo smooth it anyway. So 14, 15, 16 segments works pretty good. So I'm going to, I don't know, we'll try 16 this time and we'll see what happens. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to convert it to an editable poly. All right, and at that point we can go over to like X-ray mode and we can start to kind of shape out the head. So I want to pay attention to what it looks like from the front. I want to pay attention to what it looks like from the side. And we can slowly start to mess around with some points and try to get them kind of where they need to go. Some things that we learned from moving points around, like when we're doing the body. All right, try to avoid just moving one point by itself. If it has like a point on the back side, The best way to kind of grab those and move them is by dragging a box, all right, or selecting like, a group of points just by dragging a form over top of that so that we can move things as a group. Okay? Try to keep your points halfway between like the points on the boundaries, like on the outside, so not too close to the next one, not too close to the one over here. Try to keep them about halfway if at all possible. If you have to rotate them, you can do that. You can slowly start to shape out the head. Around the outside of your character, and again, like here, I'm just going to kind of rotate that just to get it back in line. Up here, we'll squish this just a little bit so you can use that scale tool just in one axis and then move stuff as a group. Alright. Biggest rules being, like, don't cross over top of another boundary. I had a bunch of people doing stuff like that with the character's body. Be really careful there. Alright, try to keep your points, like, equidistant off of each other. For the most part, like, once you get the shape of the head from the side, you have most of the work done. Alright? At that point, the thing I want to try to do, like, around his mouth, because I think the mouth is kind of like the hardest part with this character's head. I want to try to get a set of vertices, like kind of right around the top of his mouth. I'm going to try to get like an edge or a ring like right around the bottom of his mouth. So those are the next places to kind of go. So what we can do is we can start to take some of those points and just kind of follow that line around the character's mouth. And up here, it's going to get a little bit hairy, so maybe we'll just kind of leave that alone. Alright. What's going to happen in here, like around the mouth, we're going to end up removing or deleting some polygons. Over here, if I delete these, I'm going to delete like a bunch of that upper lip. So we look at that in 3D one more time. Kind of have some polygons that might need like a little bit of cutting right across here. Alright, so if we like kind of cut where that upper lip's going to be, we can end up coming back and removing those. Alright, so one little tool that I can switch over to at this point, I have in vertice mode the cut option available, so we can use cut there. You could also do this just in polygon mode, you can use cut. So if you wanted to, you could highlight those polygons and you can use your cut tool. And basically we got to get from like this vertice right in here, so I kind of want to pay attention to the shape of the tool. Alright, the shape of the tool looks different if you're on an edge or a polygonal face or if you're on a vertice. So you know that you're actually like clicking on a vertice. So I want to make sure that I click on a vertice here, and then I can kind of cut right across the top. Spin it around in 3D here. Try to do the same thing. Maybe go right across there. And then turn cut off. Anytime you're done with cut, turn cut back off. Alright, and now you have those polygons cut in half. You can come back and you can just kind of remove those. Alright, and you have most of your character's mouth cut out. Alright. In here, the trick is going to be putting some new polygons back in place. But the cool thing is you have some symmetry from one side to the other. If you accidentally lose your symmetry, you can always mirror that back. Alright, but once you have some symmetry in there, you can take an edge from one side and you can bridge it all the way across to the other side of the character's head. Alright, so we can use in edge mode a tool called bridge. Alright, and bridge is great for finding just another edge on the other side and kind of putting things back together. So as long as you're picking adjacent edges, that should go back together no problem. The only exception might be like all the way up here in the very front where you have like one individual point. Like there's this one little point right here and it has no place to go. Alright, there's no like direct edge right across on the other side. Alright, so we'll address that in a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep bridging, using the bridge tool, just going from one side to the other. Just finding those direct edges right across. Go back and find bridge one more time. We'll just go right here. If I go on like a slight off-axis view, it's real easy to see. Alright, if you stay like at that true orthographic view, you're probably not going to see the bridged edge. So you got to go on like a little bit of an off-axis view. You should be able to put that back together, no problem. Okay. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Biggest thing though, like if you look at the polygons kind of going across, oh, and we got to turn off bridge, or else we're going to accidentally do something we don't want to. Alright. So if you look at the polygons going across the top of the face, you have a bunch of these like vertical edges that go and cut kind of the character's head across the top. If you go through the mouth though, you have nothing polygonally like kind of, you know, breaking that surface up the same way. So here, you know, you have like an edge breaking that big polygon across, right? So we do want to kind of put something in place there. So the one thing I do want you to do, once you get most of those polygons in place, like across the mouth, I want you to just come back in. You can use the polygon selection tool. Alright, so use the polygon tool and you can grab, holding down control, you can grab all those polygons on the inside of the mouth. You want to make sure you get all of them. So I'm holding down control and I'm just going to select each of them. Alright, but we have all those polygons on the inside of the mouth. What we want to do is we want to cut those up, alright, so that you have lines that are similar to what you see across the head. Alright, so by selecting those, you're only going to cut these now when we use one of the cut tools. So you have a bunch of different ways you can cut. You got slice, plane, quick slice, or cut. Alright, cut itself is going to probably be the sloppiest. Quick slice would probably work pretty good. Slice plane is going to be the neatest and cleanest. Alright, so if I go slice plane, all I have to do is just take this plane that exists basically and get it really, really, really close to where I want to cut. So if I put it like right on top of this line here and hit slice and then move it over and hit slice and move it over and hit slice, you should see a new edge being put in all the way across your character's face here. Alright, right on those polygons that are selected. It's not going to cut any of the other polygons in the file except for just the ones that are selected. Alright, and what that does is it just kind of divides up, and I'm going to turn slice plane off when I'm done. It's just going to cut up those polygons across the inside of the character's mouth, so you have a little bit more symmetry, I guess, just kind of with other polygons that are on the outside. The other thing that it does, it gives you a point right here, like on the top on the inside of the mouth, to close up with that little piece of the lip. Alright, so basically we can use in vertice mode one of the weld tools, alright, to close that back up. So you can use just the regular old weld tool, Or in this case, I think target weld works really good. So you can specifically weld two vertices together that need to be welded back together. And I have a couple other situations where I think I need to do that right across the bottom of the mouth, but that worked out really nice. We'll go up here and take a look. Yeah, you got two vertices here that have to get put together. Two vertices here that have to get put together. Two vertices here that have to get put together. That works pretty good. Now from the front of his head, everything's looking pretty good. I mean, I might mess around a little bit with like this section. Just kind of pull that in because that part of his head doesn't really exist. Over here, maybe move that kind of out just a little bit because his jaw is a little bit wider on the bottom. That's about it. I mean, that's the bulk of the head. If we look at it turbo smooth, it should look pretty good. Might want to kind of exaggerate that jaw just a little bit better, but not too bad. Alright, so like I said, if you want to exaggerate the jaw just a little bit better, you can always come back and you can move some points around once that turbo smooth is turned on. Alright, so I want you guys to get going on that. When you get done with it, we'll take a look at that little like swirl thing on top of his head. Take a look at the eyeball. Take a look at the teeth. Alright, all that stuff's pretty easy once you get this done. This is probably the hardest thing that you've had to model so far. Alright, so do your best. We'll go from there. Okay? Get to work, please.